While I was building Ubuntu users, I had this feeling that Python is just not in the right space for web development. There was always a lingering worry that if you look at PHP in our community and how well that works, and then you look at Python and like how hard it is to run, there was always the sentiment like there has to be a way to make this better. One of the biggest things standing in the way was that even just accessing basic data like incoming request form data, incoming cookies, session management, all of this, you kind of have to build differently depending on where you deploy it. So there was a difference if you run against CGI, fast CGI, if you want to support the ISS server, which was the Microsoft server. Like there was just so much custom stuff they had to do. And so I built a library, terribly named, called Werkzeug, which means toolkit, to do that. And then the second problem that he had compared to PHP is that in PHP you can mix HTML and code, and so you can very easily generate HTML. And in Python, there were a bunch of attempts of doing that, but none of them were really, really good. When I saw Django having a nice templating engine, I had a lot of motivation of building like a version of this that's just a little bit more powerful for my own use. And so I had all of those libraries there, and I used those to build parts of what I was hoping at the time would become the new Ubuntu users code base. And I had some users using that. But there was a huge push at one point to build a single file frameworks that have everything in it, that re-implement everything from scratch. And I was kind of trying to make an argument that you should actually not rebuild everything from scratch. You should actually use high-level quality utilities like my Werkzeug library, or Ian Bicking had one called Paste. There were a bunch of those libraries, and I was trying to make an argument that you shouldn't build it from scratch. We used to make April Fool's jokes, so on one of those April Fool's days, I packaged everything together into a single file Python library where everything was in there. I made a fake screencast. I had a friend record with a fake French voice.
Now you can go ahead and create your own web application.
There was a script on it, and it was just all kind of ridiculous. That got a lot of traction. I mean, some people realized it was a joke, some people kind of took it serious, but it did show me that there's marketing is really important. So then I was like, okay, if I want people to use my libraries, then maybe what I need to build is actually a microframework that bundles them together, and then my libraries that I actually want people to use will have more adoption. So that was sort of the idea behind it. And then I packaged all of this together. I called it Flask. I gave it a documentation, and I released it a couple of months after the April Fool's joke. That turned out to be a pretty good combination at the time because it had the high quality HTTP handling stuff in it. So you could go very deep if you want to, but it also was very easy to use and build simple APIs with it. I presented Flask at one of the Django conferences in Amsterdam, I think. And one of the immediate feedbacks that I got is like people really liked the way the documentation looked. This is really interesting that I get good feedback from Django people who already are very invested in Django. But there was a class of problems where Django was actually just a little bit too big. And so when I saw that Django people actually also played with Flask, that was a really motivating thing for me, in particular because Django at the time kind of rejected this underlying idea of the WSGI standard. So this standard that I was trying to promote, that other people created, but I felt like if we get the standard standardized and more people are going to use it, then it will be better for all of us. Django didn't follow that initially, and it took a couple of years for them actually to do that. And I was very motivated to see eventually that even Django started using that standard. And I feel like me and some others who were not from the Django ecosystem showing up at their conferences and showing like what else you can do with it was a little bit of a stepping stone for that. And I eventually actually contributed the WSGI implementation, the better one for Django.